Yo, what up? So glad to see you here, and welcome to the new year. Today we're just going to be talking about some of my top games of the year 2024, the GOATs of last year. I'm a big fan of horror. If you are too and want to see more discussions and gameplay of them, consider subscribing and liking the video. So comment your horror gaming GOATs and other games I should play and be excited for the new year, because I got a whole bunch on the lineup and it's gonna go hard. Alright, enough said. In no particular order, let's talk about some games. Now, the first game I want to talk about is a classic, Amnesia: The Dark Descent. And I'm gonna say this real quick, like right now, it's a classic for a reason. I've heard around the entire horror game scene that Amnesia: The Dark Descent was by far one of the top dogs when it came to horror, a pioneer in the genre, a grandfather of survival horror. And when I finished playing Soma, one of my personal favorites, I somewhat imposed my experiences and thoughts about Soma onto The Dark Descent. I thought that it would have a good story, have some interesting gameplay features, and maybe some like scenarios, but nothing mind-blowing. You had to know how stupid I was. That's called a reference. If you know, you know. Amnesia: The Dark Descent is low-key one of my favorite games of all time. Being an old game, one would assume that the gameplay would be basic and limited, but it's by far superior to many games that have been released and were released. It's a survival horror classic for a reason. It's the survival horror game. Not only do you have to find keys and take care of your health like every other survival horror, but you also have to maintain your sanity. If you're in the dark for too long or encounter unsettling things, including the monsters that linger around, you'll quickly go insane, and in the harder difficulties, you straight up fucking die, dude. You're constantly lighting torches with limited amounts of matches and keeping your lantern on with a resource more rare than gold, bruh. On my first playthrough, I had to face the world and monsters within in the dark many times because I found it hard to find oil and shit. It's not a good game without good gameplay, and luckily, it's pretty good. A lot of modern horror games lean onto the monsters and elements being ultra hyper realistic, ultra hyper realistic, bloody eyes, oh my god, type E, bro. The games just end up feeling rushed and unoriginal, like they just use Unreal Engine and then that's it. The Dark Descent has a strange and eerie charm and a strong art direction, being realistic but not ultra real. Like, the devs themselves at Frictional Games knew that the games wouldn't be super realistic even at the time, so they styled the game in a dark painting with these very harsh blacks and browns and the dim oranges and small moments of color. I just want to say, the game looks beautiful. It genuinely looks like a fucking painting, and I'm surprised it still holds up and stuff. And the game also has this amazing soundscape. The sounds of the castle Brenningburg are beyond haunting. Every room and hallway has this low and uncomfortable humming, and as if the walls themselves were breathing. And if you listen closely, you could hear the sounds of screaming and sometimes muffled moans. Things walking behind you just out of sight, never giving you the feeling of truly being alone in this place. And that's what makes the world feel so rich, so detailed, alive, and terrifying. And that's why I think it's one of the best games I played this year. Alright, on to the next one. The next game I want to talk about is Flathead. Now, I think that this game was probably one of the more modern horror games that I genuinely love, and I think if you haven't played it, I think y'all should really go ahead and play it. I think the biggest reason why I like Flathead is because of the audio. Just like Amnesia, truly never feel alone. The world is never still. You can hear screaming, whispers, walking. And if you listen closely, you'll hear the crashing waves of tomorrow outside the door. The game felt so immersive that when the monster came behind me, I can feel its breath down my neck. And that's fucking terrifying. And also, besides the sound, it has a very cool sci-fi aesthetic to it. Not crazy sci-fi, more like just in an alternate modern universe. And it's pretty cool. I think it fits well with the story, being that some scientist introduced or discovered this revolutionary technology and ended up really fucking up the world. This is a test of some sort. And besides that, Flathead is definitely one of the GOATs of last year. And before we continue to the last one, I just want to mention an honorable mention, and that is Silkub Test. This is actually the same guy that made Flathead. But the reason why I'm putting on honorable mention is that it was only a demo. It actually comes out, I would assume, this year, 2025, which is extremely exciting because I really liked the demo. It had a lot of things that Flathead had that I really like, as well as being a different experience. You know, being a different type of game. Instead of a gambling game, it's kind of a more yes or no test game with moments of free roam. And besides that, it's just a small little demo that I'm excited to see the full product of. And let's get talking about the final game. The last game I want to talk about is Mouthwashing. And the reason why I really like this game is because it really focuses on one thing and one thing only. And that's the story. And because of that reason, I genuinely don't want to talk about it. Because I really want you guys to experience it if you haven't already. It's honestly, it's a very good book. I think if you think of it as like a interactive experience and not more or less a game, it's pretty good. Because there's really not much gameplay. It's literally walking, talking to people. And you know, there's a lot of games like that. There's a lot of games that just focus on the story. And you know, I feel like some people forget that about games. That that they're not just games, you know. They're interactive medias. And sometimes all you want in a game is just a very nice story. And Mouthwashing is just that. A very cool story with cool characters that, it's worth your time. So that was all the games that really stuck with me. Let me know what your favorite horror games were this year, last year, 2024. And let me know what other games I should play for the new year, because I got a whole bunch on the lineup. I'm excited for this year because it's gonna go hard, bro. It's gonna be a fun ride, and hope you guys are gonna stick with me. And besides that, thanks for watching and stay safe.